Welcome to A Comic a Day, and this month we are celebrating the birth month of my favorite comic book company, Aftershock Comics. They turned 2 this year, and my god has it been an absolutely brilliant 2 years since. But you'll see what I mean this month. As always, links to buy these comics are in the description, and become a patron to help support the Comic Archivist family of channels. Warning, massive spoilers are massive this month. On with the show. Second Sight number 4. On the bus to Mr. Snuff's house, Ray starts choking, grabbing at his throat. People on the bus start staring, but he gets over it relatively quickly. Tony asks if it was another vision as they get off the bus at their stop, but it was nothing visual, and Ray hand waves it away as they figure out what to do with Mr. Snuff. However, they find the door open. Tony and Ray stalk through the house and find Mr. Snuff hanging from the ceiling dressed in women's lingerie, with porn strewn all over the floor in front of him, though I'm actually more concerned about the Pan statue and all the demonic stuff hanging. That might freak me out slightly more than the autoerotic asphyxiation. Ray says that Tony needs to leave and go, but Tony says she's not a kid and she's seen dead bodies before, at least in pictures online. But she then goes into basically the most famous fictional and actual people who've died accidentally due to autoerotic asphyxiation before they decide to leave. The body was still warm, and like hell if Ray needs to call the cops to say what they found, they're totally being set up. Tony and Ray then head back to Bibliomaniac so Ray can grab his shrooms. Also, John gives Tony something that was delivered to the bookstore days ago, but since Ray doesn't check his mail, it wasn't found until now. So while they're walking back out, Ray calls Callahan to say that Temple screwed him over, while Tony opens the manila envelope to find a flash drive. Props for the fact that the color scheme is that of the Flash. But either way, they don't check what's on it because it's time to go to Callahan's. Cut to them at Callahan's, and Temple is there too. Ray is furious because the only people who knew that he was going to Mr. Snuff's was Temple and Callahan, so it has to be Temple. Though Temple brings up that they didn't even call the police when they got there, which is kind of suspicious. Yet after some arguing, mainly about people maybe having seen Ray go to Snuff's place, Callahan brings up that he told Ray to back off long ago because of his higher-up, who was James Deacon, the same person that basically all but said that he knew that Temple was working with them. And Tony then brings up that must mean that they could have bugged her phone. We then cut over to Deacon and another detective at a monitoring station listening to the whole thing because of a bug on Temple's jacket. Well, Tony drops the big bomb that she has all of Maleficent's evidence on a flash drive, with Callahan just surprised and asking for it, while Temple says that it's evidence so it's hers by right. And then it becomes bickering until Callahan's current wife or girlfriend, comes in to remind them all that they're trying to take down really bad people, and for their faults, they're on the good team. Then there's a scene from Deacon needing to basically coerce and force Detective Wills, the other guy in the listening room, with saying that they're doing the right thing and these people are terrorists. I'll get into that in the analysis bit, just to maybe overthink the whole thing. It's what I kinda do. But Tony and Ray leave, taking the tube back to wherever Tony lives, since she needs to get her laptop and a change of clothes, but even more than that, she wants Ray to go and talk to her mom about her staying at his place for a couple days. Tess, Ray's ex-wife, I don't honestly think I've brought up her name yet. I am so sorry. She is totally opposed to Tony staying with Ray, bringing up something very heavy that Ray tried to kill Tony before. We begin to see the demony form I brought up in the first issue, you know, the demonic form when Ray punched a journalist. Only now do we see clearly that it's the Reaper. Ray grabs her by the throat, telling her to shut up. Tony grabs her father's arm, trying to get him off of her. But then we cut over to John in Bibliomaniac, reading a first edition copy of Invisible Man. Taking off the comic reader glasses for a moment, Invisible Man is a fantastic book that everyone should read, which has grown to be far more relevant today, regardless of skin color or Marxist leanings, than even when it was made, though maybe not for the same reasons. Okay, comic guy back. So our standard masked henchman comes in for Pilgrim, but he's not around. They start ripping the Invisible Man apart to get John to tell them pretty much any information on where Ray is, but John doesn't know. But when one of them says that it's just a book, that he should stop being a little wuss, John grabs him and calls him a Philistine before being shot. Back with Ray, he lets go of Tess because he starts feeling the bullet rip through him, and he knows that John is now dead. Okay then, I've got a little bit of a rant coming up. So first, I do want to say that I'm not sure from the investigation standpoint that going so whole hog into Deacon being the bad, as quickly as it comes in this issue, was that good. But in that, the pulse of the book ramps up, and I can't wait to start the next issue. So it's not so much a negative, just kind of a directional thing. And now for my giant rambling rant. First, Deacon's big speech to Detective Wills is that they're doing this. They may have to break some laws, because these people, Callahan, Temple, and the Pilgrims, are threatening the system in place. They may not have guns, but they're actively trying to commit terrorism to rattle the very way of life for everyone in London with the information they have. The only reason I want to point this out is because when you pair that with the fact that John is reading Invisible Man, a book that, and I'm hoping this makes sense, is about the brightly lit underground. In short terms, the big bad is about being as dark as they can in the day, while the good guys are about the lights buried deep within, or something. I'm recording this at 4 in the morning, so sorry if this gets confusing. But here's the bigger notice. On one hand, you have Tony using very modern means with her blog to shatter an institution that is relatively old, especially by net standards. I mean, it's over 20 years old. A club that is the elite of London and could, as Deacon said, destroy the very foundation of the country if they're brought to justice. Then you have Deacon, who's also using modern means to try and protect that system, with technology, strong arming, and basically all they can muster to try and protect the Wednesday Club. Then you have Ray. Ray runs a bookstore, a medium considered outdated by today with the Nook and Kindles and just digital everything becoming the norm. Tony is definitely the good guy. Deacon is definitely on the bad. But Ray, as Callahan's current wife, said the jury is still out on him. He's not a white knight. He's an alcoholic with some severe mental problems, who's pretty much only on this case because of his daughter and wanting to help her. But he is also connected to a very older, or at least not as mundane or advanced as technology way. He pops shrooms and then can see through the eyes of a victim and killer. All of this, paired with a throwback feel that I do keep bringing up in this book to the 80s, 90s British indie scene, truly speaks volumes to me. What it says to me, and yes, again, this isn't technically a book club, but I'm going to be overly thinking this, is that Tony is going to change modern society because of her vlog. Deacon will try and protect modern society due to where he is. Ray is just trying to maintain where he is, not because, he's some giant wizard with psychic powers, but because he has been so beaten over the last 20 years that this isn't about breaking some pedophile ring or saving the world. It is about where he is and helping his small cluster or something. I don't know if any of that makes any sense to you guys, but read it and find out for yourself if you can kind of get what I'm saying. And sorry, David Hines, if I just totally overthought this whole thing. So now that the noose is tightening around our heroes, and one of their friends is dead, what will happen? Come back tomorrow for the second to last issue to find out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my other 2 channels, Comic Archivist and ComicSins. Become a patron and choose the next comics we do for a comic a day. And as always, stay golden, Inklings.
Psycho killer on the loose again, demented brain in constant pain.